Honey. Hon. I'm home. Oh, delicious.
Oh my God! What the hell's going on?
Happy birthday, Marty. She had no idea.
You told me you were working late. Oh my God! I'm not even dressed. Dang it! Hi, honey.
Hello. What are we doing here?
Opening time capsule. You have
When
to
was
do
this time
pictures
capsule?
too.
Yeah, I have my
When was this time capsule?
20 years ago.
5th grade.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
And what
Mr.
teacher was
Kramer's
that?
classroom.
Where's your camera for photos?
He died 3 years ago. Did he actually? I made that up.
Oh no, he's dead.
Is he really? Oh, I was kidding.
He's young. I killed him off, but
Wait, what? How did he die?
I don't remember. Heart attack.
Really, you gonna take photos and
Wow.
video?
Holy crap!
There's a VHS tape in here with instructions.
Holy crap, it's
There's
right.
a lot of stuff in here.
I kind of remember this thing.
What is it?
It's
fan?
a baseball fan.
It's a baseball fan. For a
A
big
baseball
baseball, fan. Oh,
Excellent
my
National Myth Exam. Okay. National Mythology Exam.
glasses. See? You learned about Greek gods.
Socks. Perfect. How did that get in there?
No clue.
Maybe they were special socks for you.
Looks like mine's gonna be garbage and Brad's is awesome. Let's stop recording it.
Oh, come on.
T-shirt. Oh, Mr. Kramer's class, remember?
No.
Yes.
I mean, I believe you. I just,
Superman. That was his big thing, Superman.
Who signed it?
I don't know. Let's see.
I had to sign it.
What was this?
Some note that I had to sign.
What is this?
Certainly the notions of time dilation and relative speed are thought-provoking, and I hope your child has discussed these concepts with you.
What? He was crazy.
Good. Sick. Old baseball cards. Hopefully we can make a fortune. Magic the Gathering. You should have forced me to journal. That would have been
What's
something.
this one? Oh my God, that's hysterical.
Old picture of Brad.
Oh, that's just.
Now this is a winner right here. This was a hell of a toy. The Koosh Fling Shot. You remember this?
Yikes.
Still works.
Big up.
We're gonna have to collect
Low
that.
tech. Low tech toys still work.
Still watch South Park currently. We'll go through this.
What is in that notebook?
Ooh, this is to be opened on 3/4/2017. I'm late by a few weeks.
What's
That's
in that?
okay.
What's
This
in
is
that?
just my schoolwork.
But
I'll
look
open it
who's
up.
on it, South Park people.
I know, it's awesome. So much junk in there.
It's like leaves in it.
Hmm.
What's the thing?
Okay, it says September 18th, 1997.
Dad's birthday.
Dear Jonathan, so far my childhood is great. You're probably reading this letter at the age of 30. I play all kinds of sports like hockey, baseball, and basketball. Some of my hobbies are playing guitar and science. The movies here are wonderful. Everything here is great. I'm a great person. Some of my friends are Brad Reisman, Eric Gamper, and Brian Sanders. But my best friend is Max Motroller. I gotta send a picture of this. I go to Camp Winnetou. It's located in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. I play everything there. It's a great way to spend your summer. Jonathan Cohen. Little did I know I actually, Winnetou was,
Oh my
well,
God, that's
There's
great though.
amazing.
they couldn't have you do a little bit more?
really
How about what I wanted to be? What did I want to be? Who knows? Okay. Old dried up newspaper.
There is a video in there.
Yeah.
I thought you were teasing.
Family Heritage Report.
Oh.
Do we have a VHS player somewhere?
You do?
We
Plugged
do?
in?
Yeah.
We gotta plug that in. Excellent something.
Latin. Latin award. Oh, you got a lot of those Latin awards.
Did we even? I don't know. I have no memory of that. The defense team. Yes. Goldilocks trial. Can't forget that.
Enlighten me.
Just, info about the Goldilocks trial. Kind of remember it a little bit.
We have it on video.
Oh, there you were. That's what you looked like.
The Supremes. Jessica, Rachel, Shayna, and Marissa. Okay. Oh, chemo
It's the trail map.
trail map.
Oh, yeah, he used to give you free homework passes.
Okay, we have some journaling here.
Oh,
my
baby, the
God.
mother load.
All right.
What about the folded up pages that are stapled in there?
Oh God. Well, I'll have to read those privately. This one's stapled in. Hey, how could you even read this? I'll get to this later.
Just read us the first page, one paragraph.
About 2 weeks ago, I was in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. I picked up my brother up from camp. That same day, we went on a plane to go to Phoenix, Arizona. On the plane, we saw the movie Liar Liar. It was a 5-hour plane ride. Brad's spelling was better than mine. When we finally arrived there, it was 30 at night. It was 9:30 at night. In New York, it was 1, so we were retired. September 5th, 1997. We got the hotel room. There were 2 beds. We went to bed. The next morning, I woke up. That's usually what happens. And we were on our way to the Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon was the most amazing thing I have seen in my life. There were about so different color patterns. This hotel was beautiful. It was on the very edge of the Grand Canyon. We stayed in that hotel with our good friends. We stayed there for 3 days. After that, we went back to Phoenix. In that hotel, we went to my cousin's wedding. Then we went back home and started a great school year.
Oh, God, John. That's a plethora of information.
That's good. Jeez, Louise. This is all
Oh, my
homework,
God,
every homework
homework.
assignment from 5th grade.
Oh, my God, John.
Astronomy test. Got 2 wrong. Idiot.
Latin,
Who's getting a call?
not me.
Yeah, you too. How do you say not me? Your phone's not over here. All right, let's end the
is
recording now. I don't want to record.
No
anymore.
recollection.
All right.
My father's grandparents came from Europe. My great-grandfather's name was Joe Cohen. He was born in Lithuania and came to this country at the beginning of the 20th century. Someone edited this for grammar, because I certainly was not.
Guess who that's someone?
Yeah. My great-grandmother's name was Sadie Berman. She was born in Russia and also came to America at the beginning of the 20th century. Both my grandparents came through Ellis Island. My great-grandpa Joe was a men's clothing merchant. Merchant? He had a store in Manhattan. My great-grandparents had 4 sons. Their names are Sam, Benny, Stanley, and Herb. Herb is my grandpa. My great-grandparents met through a friend and got married. After Sam and Benny were born, they moved from the Lower East Side of New York to Williamsburg, Brooklyn. This was during the Great Depression, and they had very little money. Also during that time, the next 2 sons were born. Grandpa Joe worked very hard selling clothes, and they started to live better by the time World War II began. The older 2 sons had joined the army and went off to Europe to fight in the war. My grandpa Herb remembers living in Brooklyn as a little boy and going to the candy store to buy himself treats. In 1948, my grandpa Herb met Arlene Kistenberg and they started dating seriously. They met in 1953. My grandmother Arlene's father's name was David Kistenberg. His mother's name is Dottie. Even though her father's name was David, his friends called him Larry. This is where my brother got his name from. Great-grandpa David was born in the United States of America. Great-grandma Dottie was born in Poland and came to America in 1914 through Ellis Island. Great-grandpa David was a milkman for the Borden Milk Company. Great-grandma Dottie was a legal secretary during the Great Depression. She signed many papers during the time she worked for a group of lawyers in Manhattan. In 1990, she was contacted and told that some of those papers she signed were the deeds to the land on Long Island. She ended up selling it and splitting the profit among her 6 grandchildren. Wow. Never saw any of that action.
No, you
but-
did. Totally did.
David and Dottie had 3 children. Their names are Bernice, Arlene, and Ira. All of my great-grandparents on my father's side, of all the great-grandparents of my father's side, only Dottie is still alive. She's 91 years old. My grandpa Herb and grandma Arlene were both born in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. They both went to the same high school. It was called Eastern District High School. They met each other at a Sweet 16 party. They just bumped into each other and started talking. Then they started going out. When my grandpa was 23 years old, my grandma was 19 years old, and they got married. They have 3 children. Their names are Kenneth, my dad, Danny, and Amy. My grandfather was a salesman, and my grandmother was a teacher, and is now the school librarian for a junior high school in Brooklyn. Maternal family. My mother's grandparents came from Poland. My great-grandfather, Jack Tromka, met my great-grandmother, Dora, how do you pronounce this? Katajka? Katajka, in the small town where they grew up. They got married and moved to Paris, France. They had 1 child, my grandpa Claude. Jack owned a women's coat manufacturing company. When the Nazis came to power, Jack had some friends who weren't Jewish who helped him escape with his family. Jack made a coat for Dora with big buttons in the front. He hid money inside the buttons, and this money was used to bribe soldiers at borders. My grandpa Claude was only 7 years old at the time. He remembers Paris from before they had to leave as very beautiful. He was very scared when they left and very sad to leave behind all his things. He was allowed to take a few books, but even those were taken from him during their escape. When they got to Spain, Jack was able to arrange for passage on a boat to Cuba. My grandfather and his parents were the only members of his family to escape the Nazis. They lived in Cuba for a few months, and my grandpa Claude remembers eating pineapple for the first time there. Jack really wanted to come to America, so he made the arrangements to move to Cincinnati because he knew someone who lived there. Once they were in Cincinnati, my grandpa started school. He didn't speak any English, but spoke both French and Yiddish. He was put in the 2nd grade, but quickly moved back to 1st grade. After a few months, my grandpa could speak English, and Jack moved them again, this time to New York City. Thank God. Then my grandpa was put into the 3rd grade. My grandpa lived across the street from the Museum of Natural History. He remembers playing in the museums on rainy days, running around the dinosaurs. My grandfather went to Stuyvesant High School and then to Wilkes College. He worked for many years as a shipping manager for a large toy company. My mother's other grandparents were born in America. My great-grandmother, Edith Rabinowitz, was born in Boston. She moved to Brooklyn as a teenager, met my grandpa, Bernard Zuckerman, by accident. Edith went with a friend to visit the friend's sick boyfriend in the hospital. The sick boyfriend was my great-grandpa Bernie. They fell in love, got married, and had my grandma Joan. My great-grandpa Bernie owned many gas stations around Brooklyn and Queens before he retired. My grandma Joan remembers growing up in Brooklyn, surrounded by her family. She lived in her grandmother's house, and her aunts and uncles all lived on the same block. When she went away to college, she met my grandpa Claude. They got married in 1956. They had 3 children. Their names are Hillary, Ruth, and Nancy. My grandmother taught special education students in Queens for 27 years. My grandpa Claude and grandma Joan are retired and live in Florida. My family of 4. My mom and dad met at a party. They got married on March 7th, 1981. My dad is a cardiologist. My mom was a book editor before I was born. Today, my mom is on the school board in Jericho. I was born on March 4th, 1987. My brother was born on September 29th, 1989. This is the story of my family.
That's great.
All him and David did was rake leaves. I helped them out. Now here comes the part where I decided your bro could be drinking or something. He runs out.
Wait, are you writing this to yourself?
Brad wrote this.
Oh, Brad wrote it.
Yeah.
Did you send it to him?
Yeah. He runs out in the middle of the street, and starts yelling, "The big help, making the world a bigger and better place." He's out there in the
Don't remember
street.
that. Oh.
He's out there in the street with his arms out, looking like Mr. Stretchy Arms. He made me especially think he was on drugs when he chased cars. It was hilarious. Sincerely, Brad.
That's amazing.